Look around you. Most people are walking targets because they think love is a shield. It's not. It's a blindfold. Niccolo Machiavelli taught us that it is much safer to be feared than loved, and that's because love is held by a thin, silk thread of obligation. The second that thread gets in the way of someone's self-interest, they will snap it without blinking. People aren't loyal to you. They are loyal to the way you make them feel or the things you provide for them. Once the benefit stops, the loyalty vanishes like smoke. Think about your cousin who borrowed money for a sure thing business. You gave it to him because he's blood, right? You thought that bond meant something. Now he's ghosting your calls while posting vacation photos on your dime. You're sitting there feeling betrayed, hurt, and confused. But the truth is, you enabled him. You let your warm heart cloud the reality that men are ungrateful, fickle, and greedy. You looked at his face and saw family, while he looked at your wallet and saw opportunity. To handle this, you have to stop looking at the relationship and start looking at the cold, hard math of the situation. You treat the next interaction like a cold business audit. No emotion, no remember when we were kids talk, and zero guilt. You give a firm ultimatum with a consequence that actually stings, like legal action or cutting off their access to the rest of the family's resources. That's your way out of being the family ATM. The mirage of loyalty also shows up in your closest friendships. You think because you've known someone for 10 years, they'll have your back when things get ugly. But Machiavelli warned that men will always prove untrue to you unless they are kept honest by constraint. If your best friend sees a chance to get ahead by stepping on your neck, and there's no penalty for doing it, they will step. It's not because they hate you, it's because they love themselves more. Imagine you're up for the same promotion or chasing the same client. You share your strategy because you trust them. Suddenly, your boss is asking you questions that sound exactly like the doubts your friend planted. The problem here is your own big mouth and your soft heart. The maneuver to fix this is to stop giving away your blueprints. You become a closed book. You keep them close enough to watch them, but far enough that they can't reach your vitals. You learn to smile while keeping your hand on the hilt of your sword. Even with your own parents or siblings, the mirage is there. They use the word loyalty to keep you in a box that serves their comfort. If you start making more money or gaining more power than them, watch how fast their love turns into concern or guilt. They don't want you to fail, but they often don't want you to fly higher than them either. When they try to pull you back down, using family loyalty as the rope, your tactic is to go cold. You stop explaining your moves. You stop seeking their blessing. You show them that your path is set, with or without them. By becoming cold-blooded, you force them to respect the person you are becoming, rather than the person they want to control. This isn't about being mean. It's about being untouchable. When you stop relying on the illusion of loyalty, you finally gain the power to dictate how people treat you. Once you realize that loyalty is a mirage, you stop looking for friends and start looking for positions. You can't just stand there and take hits. You have to play the game better than they do. That means changing your skin. You have to learn how to move in the shadows and how to strike in the light. This is the transition from being a victim of love to being a master of your own circle. You stop being the prey and start being the one who sets the pace. To survive, you have to be two people at once. Niccolo Machiavelli taught us that a leader must be a fox to recognize the traps and a lion to scare off the wolves. If you are only a lion, you are too blunt. You'll walk right into a snare because you think you can power through everything. If you are only a fox, you are too weak. The wolves will eat you the moment they corner you. Even with those closest to you, your spouse, your siblings, your childhood friends, you must maintain a level of distance. If they know every single one of your weaknesses, they don't just love you, they own you. Think about your best friend, the one who knows all your secrets. Information is the ultimate currency, and you've been handing it out for free. Imagine you tell this friend your deepest insecurity about your career or a mistake you made in the past. You think you're bonding. 6 months later, you're both up for the same promotion or interested in the same person. Suddenly, your friend is making jokes in front of the boss or that person that poke exactly at that insecurity. They aren't necessarily evil, they're just human. They are choosing their plate over yours. They are using the map you gave them to find your pressure points. The problem here is that you were a lion trying to roar when you should have been a fox, sniffing out the trap. To fix this, you start practicing strategic silence. You share the fruit of your success, but you never show them the roots of your struggle. By keeping your internal map a secret, you create a mystery that commands respect. People can't sabotage what they can't see. This is your master plan for maintaining the upper hand in your inner circle. You become the fox who knows exactly what people are capable of, and you keep your vulnerabilities under lock and key. The lion side comes in when the fox's tricks aren't enough. There are times when a loved one will push you just to see if you'll fold. Maybe it's a partner who constantly tests your boundaries, or a parent who tries to guilt-trip you into giving up your dreams for their comfort. They are the wolves. If you play the nice guy, they will keep biting until there's nothing left. This is where you show the lion. You don't argue, and you don't explain. You simply set a hard line and let the roar do the work. When you go cold-blooded and show them that there is a version of you that is willing to walk away or cut them off, the power dynamic shifts instantly. Imagine a situation where a sibling constantly forgets to pay you back or expects you to clean up their messes. You've been the kind one for years, and it hasn't changed a thing. The route out is to stop being the fox trying to outsmart their excuses and start being the lion. You deliver a cold, hard no. No explanation, no apology, no maybe next time. You let the silence be heavy. You let them feel the fear of losing your support. When they realize you aren't a guaranteed resource anymore, they will stop treating you like a safety net and start treating you like a force to be reckoned with. Being cold-blooded with loved ones doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself to not be a casualty of their love. You watch for the traps like the fox, and you guard your territory like the lion. You learn to read the room before you enter it. If you see a trap being set, even a subtle one, like a backhanded compliment or an innocent question about your finances, you sidestep it. You don't take the bait. You keep your cards close to your chest and your eyes on the exit. This is how you stop being a character in someone else's story and start being the author of your own. Once you've mastered the mask of the fox and the strength of the lion, you'll realize that being clever and strong isn't enough if you're too nice to use your teeth. Most people fail because they have the tools to win, but lack the heart to finish the job. They think they can negotiate with a parasite or reason with a traitor. You have to cross the bridge from being a strategist to being a surgeon. You have to be willing to cut out the rot, even if the rot has a face you love. This is the transition from playing defense to finally taking control of the board. People hate the word cruel. It makes them feel uncomfortable. But Machiavelli knew the truth. A surgical strike of cruelty today saves you from a lifetime of misery tomorrow. He taught that it is much better to be feared than loved, and that injuries should be done all at once, so that being tasted less, they offend less. If you try to be kind to a toxic family member or a manipulative partner, by giving them one more chance over and over, you aren't being a saint, you're being a doormat. You are teaching them that your boundaries are just suggestions, and your anger is just a temporary storm they can wait out. Think about that one relative who always brings drama to your house, ruins your holidays, or constantly asks for favors that drain your energy and your bank account. You keep letting them in because it's family, and you don't want to be the mean one. The problem is the recurring chaos they bring into your life. Every time you forgive them without a real price being paid, you are feeding the monster that is eating you. You think you're being patient, but you're actually being weak. The remedy here is a total cold-blooded blackout. You don't send a long, emotional paragraph explaining why you're upset. That just gives them ammo to play the victim. You simply shut the door. You stop the checks. You block the number. And you ignore the guilt-trip texts from the rest of the family. It feels cold, and it looks evil to the outsiders, who don't have to deal with the stress, but by being cruel once, you end the cycle forever. You are performing a necessary amputation to save the rest of your life. It's better to be seen as a villain for a week than to remain a victim for a decade. Consider a friend who constantly undermines your confidence with constructive criticism that feels a lot like an insult. You've tried to be nice about it, but they won't stop. They think they own a piece of your peace of mind. The escape plan is to strike back with a truth so cold it freezes them in their tracks. You don't do it to be a jerk, you do it to set a perimeter. When you show them that you are capable of being sharper and meaner than they are, they will suddenly find their manners. They only pick on you because they think you're too good to hit back. Prove them wrong. This isn't about being a bully. It's about being effective. Machiavelli pointed out that a prince who is too merciful allows disorders to arise, which lead to murders and robberies, affecting the whole community. In your life, your mercy toward people who disrespect you creates a disorder that ruins your mental health and your success. If you let a lazy business partner or a flaky friend slide because of old times, you are being cruel to yourself and your future. The fix is to become a person of high stakes. If someone crosses the line, the hammer drops. No warnings, no third chances. When people know that your cruelty is a guaranteed result of their betrayal, they will treat you with a level of care they never showed when you were just the nice guy. You aren't changing who you are, you're changing the price people have to pay to stay in your circle. By being cold-blooded enough to cut ties or strike back, you protect the things that actually matter. You stop being a person people can manage and start being a person they have to respect. Once you understand that cruelty is a surgical tool, you start to see the world for what it really is, a stage. Most people are exhausted because they are trying to be good in a theater full of actors. They wear their hearts on their sleeves and wonder why they keep getting stabbed in the chest. But to truly protect yourself and those you actually care about, you have to stop trying to be a saint and start learning how to wear the saint's clothes. This is the transition from being a target to being the one who controls the room. You stop playing by the rules of morality that were written by people who want to keep you submissive. In this world, the person who tries to be good all the time will come to ruin among the many who are not good. Niccolo Machiavelli was blunt about this. A prince must learn how not to be good and how to use that knowledge according to necessity. Your loved ones, your friends, and your colleagues will use your own morality as a weapon against you. They'll use words like loyalty, kindness, and decency to guilt you into staying small. They want you to be predictable so they can manage you. They want you to be virtuous because a virtuous person is easy to rob. Think about a time a partner or a parent tried to guilt you into a decision that stunted your growth. Maybe they told you that taking a high-paying job in another city was selfish, or that a good son wouldn't leave his family behind. They aren't talking about virtue. They are talking about their own convenience. They are using your conscience as a leash. If you fold because you want to be seen as a good person, you aren't being moral, you're being a hostage. You are letting their definition of good kill your potential. The maneuver here is to learn the art of the moral mirror. You don't argue with their definition of virtue. You adopt it outwardly while moving your pieces in the background. If they call you selfish, you don't defend yourself. You smile, agree that family is the highest priority, and then you frame your move as something that will eventually benefit the family. You play the part they expect to see while your true intentions stay hidden. This is your escape route from the cage of other people's expectations. You don't have to be a monster in your heart, but you must be able to act like one if the person across from you starts showing teeth under the guise of love. Imagine a business partner who is highly ethical on paper, but they constantly cut corners that put you at risk. When you call them out, they use their virtue as a shield, acting offended that you'd even question their character. They are using a mask to hide a predator's heart. The adjustment is to stop looking at what they say and start looking at what they do. You stop trusting the good guy act and start putting everything in writing. You become cold-blooded in your documentation while remaining perfectly polite to their face. You use their own mask of virtue against them by holding them to the very standards they pretend to have. Virtue is a tool for the wise and a trap for the foolish. Machiavelli noted that it is unnecessary for a prince to actually have all the good qualities, but it is very necessary to appear to have them. If you are known as the cold one, people will be on their guard. But if you wear the mask of the kind friend or the dedicated partner, you gain the element of surprise. You can see the traps before they snap, because you aren't blinded by your own self-righteousness. The way out of being manipulated is to realize that goodness is often just a social contract that people break the moment it gets uncomfortable. By becoming cold-blooded, you stop being a slave to the nice guy image. You do what is necessary to win, and then you use your success to justify your actions. In the end, the world doesn't care how virtuous you were while you were losing. It only cares about who is left standing. Wear the mask, play the part, but never forget that the mask is there to protect the lion underneath. Once you realize that virtue is often just a costume people wear to get what they want, you have to look at the biggest lie of all: the idea that you can ever fully trust someone. We've been taught that trust is the foundation of every relationship, but in the real world, total trust is actually a death sentence. It's the transition from being a cautious player to a vulnerable target. Machiavelli warned that he who is the cause of another becoming powerful is the agent of his own destruction. When you give a loved one total access to your life, your passwords, your finances, your deepest secrets, you aren't building a bond. You are building the gallows for your own hanging. You are giving someone else the power to ruin you, hoping they'll be nice enough not to pull the lever. But hope is not a strategy. Trust is a tool you use in small doses, not a lifestyle you fall into because you're lazy. Consider the partner who handles all the bills while you stay in the dark because you trust them. You think it's a sign of a healthy relationship. Then one day things sour, or they find someone else, and you realize they've been siphoning funds into an account you can't touch or building a life you aren't part of. You're left with nothing, no money, no leverage, and no clue. Because you trusted the bond instead of checking the ledger. You didn't just lose a partner. You lost your autonomy because you were too soft to keep an eye on your own interests. The fix is to always maintain a black box, a part of your life, your resources, and your plans that belongs to no one but you. This isn't about being shady, it's about being secure. You never let one person hold all the keys to your kingdom. By keeping a foot out the door and your own private stash of resources, you ironically make the relationship more stable. Why? Because they know you can't be easily trapped. When someone knows you have the power to walk away and survive on your own, they are forced to treat you with a level of respect that blind trust never commands. Think about the ride-or-die friend you tell everything to, even the things that could get you fired or ruined if they ever came out. You think your history together protects you. But what happens when that friend hits a rough patch and needs a scapegoat? Or what if they just get jealous of your new success? Suddenly, your secrets aren't shared memories anymore. They are blackmail. They have the nuclear codes to your reputation because you were too warm-blooded to keep your mouth shut. The way through this is to practice information partitioning. You give people enough information to feel connected, but never enough to destroy you. You keep your most sensitive assets, your true plans, your backup funds, and your deepest vulnerabilities in a vault that only you can access. This is your master tactic for staying in control. If you give someone the power to destroy you, eventually they will. It might not be today, and it might not even be on purpose, but the temptation will be there. Machiavelli knew that men are pushed by two main things: fear and interest. If you trust someone totally, you remove their fear of losing you, and you gamble that their interest will always align with yours. That's a bad bet. People change, and interests shift. To survive, you must be the only person you trust 100%. By being cold-blooded about your privacy and your power, you ensure that no matter who leaves or who betrays you, your world keeps spinning. You don't let your love for someone become the weapon they use to put you in a cage. If this message hit a nerve, it's because you know the nice guy act has been costing you too much. Don't let this be another video you watch and forget, while the people in your life continue to use your heart as a doormat. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. If you're done being the victim and you're ready to take what's yours, drop a comment with "I'm ready" before you head out. The world doesn't reward the kind, it rewards the prepared. Stay cold-blooded.